presented 4 memoranda, all of which were approved. The first was for the augmentation of an existing contract, the Kodu-Shagamu Road. The contractor has run out of quantities and needs augmentation just to finish the road. I think out of about 32 kilometers, they've completed over 20 kilometers, which has been open to traffic. So council approved a 6.972 billion augmentation for them to complete the road. That was one. The other was a memo presented on behalf of the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, a statutory corporation under supervision of the Ministry of Works and Housing, and it was with respect to the rehabilitation of 5 roads and the construction of 1 road. So I'll just list the roads. Orugun, excuse me, Orugun, Owelubo, and associated roads in Delta State in favor of Mrs. UYK in the sum of 2.99 billion. Then the rehabilitation of Gege to Karage Road in Yobe in favor of Mrs. Mother Cat, 12.926 billion. Then the rehabilitation of Geshua to Potiskum Road in Yobe in favor of Mrs. Tinker Point, 2.986 billion. The rehabilitation and construction of Onitsha Aguleri to Adani Road in Anambra in favor of Mrs. Comac Steel and Construction, 2.499 billion. And the rehabilitation of Geshua Yusufari Road in Yobe in favor of Mrs. Saha Continental Civil Engineering Limited, 1.99 billion. And the rehabilitation of Oba Newi Okigwe Road Section 1, Oba UG, 35 kilometers in favor of Mrs. Ferrotex Construction in the sum of 2.499 billion. That was the second memorandum which was approved. The third memorandum was with respect to the augmentation of the Potiskum to Damaturu Section 4, part of the Kano-Maiduguri Highway. As you might be aware, Kano-Maiduguri is about 600 kilometers. We finished sections between Shuarin and Azare to Potiskum. They've been open to traffic. This section, Potiskum to Damaturu, is also almost completed. There's just an augmentation of 2.577 billion naira to cover escalation of costs in materials and to provide for lane marking so that the road can be fully and finally handed over. That was the third contract that was approved. The fourth and final one is the approval for the construction and rehabilitation of 11 federal roads, totaling 737.242 kilometers in the sum of 1,535 billion, 154 million, 247 million, 224 naira and 48 kobo under phase 2 of the NNPC tax credit scheme. You will recall that in January this year, I presented a memo that Council approved for NNPC to invest 1.9 trillion in our roads. In that 1.9 trillion, there were then about 44 roads that had been awarded. They were under contract. So that was done. So the balance of that 1.9 trillion, so it's not a new one. The balance of that 1.9 trillion, roads that had not then been awarded, that had to go through procurement between that January and now, which has now been completed, are these 11 that have now been approved by council under that global figure. So, and the roads involved here are Benin Saple Wari Road, Section 1, Benin to Imasabo, 28.275 kilometers in favor of Levant for 98.916 billion. Section 2 of the Benin Waris Road from Imasabo to Ibada to Elume, 38 kilometers in favor of a joint venture called Geld and Triacta in the sum of 127.648 billion. Then Section 3 of the same road, Ibada Elume to Wari, which is 23 kilometers in favor of Mrs. SKECC Nigeria Limited, 89.142 billion. Then the expansion of the Mararaba to Kefi Road, 43.65 kilometers in favor of Mrs. China Harbour for 73.955 billion. Let me just pause here to make an explanation. From Abuja to Lafia, we inherited the award of that road, dualization of the Abuja to Maraba section into 10 lanes, and then in between, from Maraba to Kefi was not part of the contract, because at the time that it was approved, that section was in very good condition. And this was about 10 years or 8 years ago, more than 8 years ago, because we are now 8 years in government. So it was approved before we came, but we completed the loan negotiations to finance it. So that negotiation didn't cover this part. That part has now deteriorated as we are completing the Kefi to Abuja and the other part. So we thought that it was in keeping with uniformity now to award this. So that's the explanation for that. The other roads that were approved today, Minazungeru Tegina Road, in Tegina to Kontagora, Minazungeru Tegina Kontagora, Section 2. That is the section from Tegina to Kontagora, 92.295 kilometers in favor of Gilmore Engineering, 136 billion and 33 million. Then the other road is Zaria Funtua Sokoto Road, traversing Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto states as follows in 4 sections to different contractors. This is now for the dualization. It's a single carriageway. We are now awarding contract for its dualization to make it a dual carriageway in 4 sections. So the first section, comprising Zaria Funtua to Shema, is 87.575 kilometers, awarded to Mothercard. Contract sum is 182.764 billion. The second section is from Shema through Safi to Gusau, 86 kilometers, awarded in favor of Cetraco for 195.774 billion naira. The third section is the section 3 from Gusau through to Talata Marafa Colony, and that is 93.73 kilometers, awarded in favor of Mrs. Triacta Nigeria Limited for 237 billion and 50 million naira. The fourth section and the final section of that road is from Talata Marafa Colony right to Sokoto City flyover, which is 105.442 kilometers, awarded in favor of Mrs. CBC Global, Civil and Building Engineering Construction, in the sum of 258.678 billion naira. The other 2 roads that complete the 11 are Section 3 of the Mubi to Maiduguri Road, and this is the section from Madagali through to Limankara, Guoza, and to Bama. It is 71 kilometers, awarded to Decency Associates Limited, 67.882 billion naira. And section 4 of the same road, and this is from Bama through Konduga to Maiduguri. This is 67.35 kilometers in the sum of 67.305 billion naira. So that's the fourth and final memo. Thank you very much.